You are tuned into the Dr. Tyna Show with Dr. Tyna Moore. For more, visit drtyna.com. On this episode of the Dr. Tyna Show, I have a very special guest for you. This would be a solo episode, except today I have my dear husband, Ryan, joining us. And I'm very excited because we've had this conversation multiple times and we thought it was about time we bring it to you. Ryan lives a very healthy life in the sense that he's made it to almost 50 years old. He's in very good physical condition. He's very strong. He has an incredible work ethic. He's able to run circles around the guys at the job site that are half his age. He knows how to work hard and he has a great libido. And excellent erection health. So I thought that we would bring you on, Ryan, to talk about all the things of how to really combat this modern world of what we've turned the modern man into and how to maintain and keep your testosterone levels happy and healthy.
Hello, audience. I'm Ryan. I've never done podcasts before, so this is the first go.
So I met you a couple years ago, and I was looking for a really healthy man your age, and they didn't seem to exist. And dating in the current world was a disaster for women in my age group. So I was having to date significantly younger men just to find somebody that was relatively healthy. And I raised my vibration, and I firmly believe I manifested you because I realized I have to be the kind of woman that would attract a man like you. So I became that woman, and you showed up, and I have had literal big gushy heart eyes ever since I met you because you exude vitality and health and vibrancy, and you're such a strong, manly man, but you're also the kindest man I've ever met. And I always had assumed I am guilty of being a feminist in my past life, like hardcore feminist. I mean, I still obviously believe in women's rights, but I thought guys like you were dumb hicks and would be assholes, honestly. So I was very pleasantly surprised and come to realize you had a few tricks up your sleeve, which was...
Oh, definitely sleep, being fully well rested. My work ethic, getting to the job site on time, fully rested, ready to go, which translates into the rest of your life. You know, when you're not in the tavern at 11 o'clock at night, you're asleep and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, which wasn't always the case in my life, but as you well know.
Yeah, you were hell on wheels.
I wasn't always the picture of health, you know?
You were troublesome. Well, you've been really transparent, and I've shared with my audience often that you have you've had your troubles with alcohol in particular, and I've seen pictures of you in the past, and you were kind of a hot mess. Definitely not, I would say hands down, you're the most handsome I've ever seen you in your life after looking at pictures of you throughout your life. You are so handsome now and so healthy and so uninflamed and so many good things, but I think it has to do with how you've been living your life. And this episode, really, I should have said this earlier. I know that the bulk of my audience is women in my age group, and they are always reaching out to me, asking me, Dr. Tyna, how can I get my husband to be healthy like yours? How can I convince my husband to get on the path of health with me? I've listened to your stuff and I started lifting weights and I want to get healthier, and I am getting healthier, but my husband won't come with me on the journey. And so the thing I've noticed about you is even with that past, I say this because you had that sordid past, you still got up every day and put your boots on and went to work. Every day.
When I started when I was very young, milking cows on our family farm, and in the military, I woke up every morning, hungover. You know, we were the most well-trained group of alcoholics, if you will, in the world. We drank, we partied hard, we did things we weren't supposed to be doing at 11 o'clock at night. We were supposed to be in bed. But, we woke up at 4 or 5 in the morning and went for a run. A lot of guys weren't in real good shape, physically, mentally, because they were out partying all night, but they still were out there running every day at 5 or 6 in the morning, whatever time. So, yeah, I always had a good work ethic. I tried to do the right thing.
So you were bucking hay in your teenage years too, back when they used to do that manually. Like you've always had, you grew up out here on this farm on almost 40 acres and you've spent your whole life here. So Did you have physical labor jobs every summer?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. At a real young age, took care of cows, my own cows, my dad's cows. And, but in the summertime, when you got old enough, you're either cutting firewood for the wintertime to stay warm, or you are helping the farmers buck hay, get hay in for the cattle, helping out the neighbor. We had a herd of sheep. We'd always put hay up in his loft for him. Obviously, they paid us. It wasn't a lot, but they definitely paid us. And we learned how to work with tough old dudes that were a little bit mean.
That sounds like you, baby.
A little bit mean, yeah.
You're a tough old dude who's a little bit mean. Well, I say all of this and I ask this because that was something that was really interesting about your health history is you'd always been active. Even, you went through some pretty severe surgeries as a young person. You had surgery almost, every summer, and you'd still go back and play football every fall. You've never stopped moving. And so when you got to me and you were in your mid 40s, I was shocked at how many injuries you'd had, how many surgeries you'd had, how many severe, massive injury, crushing injuries of major regions of your body in the steel mill, in life. And yet you, as someone I was just closing up my practice at the time and my whole practice was pain, and you had no pain. I was shocked at how little pain you had. And I realized, because I thought, that's so weird. How does he not have any pain? That just doesn't seem human. But you never stopped moving. You've been going since you were born, essentially. And you have always had manual labor jobs. So even though you're an electrician and you're doing maybe more chill version of labor jobs now,
yeah,
you're super active always, and you've never stopped moving. And I think that is what has kept you from having any kind of chronic pain set in, or metabolic dysfunction, or any of the other, things that curse most modern
goes back
men.
to work ethic. I blame that 100% on a good work ethic. You get up in the morning prepared to go. Even if it's your off day, or you go to church and you chill all day. Whatever. When it's time to go, you're ready to go. You handle it.
So would you ever get a desk job? Do you think you'd survive?
I don't know. I doubt it. We in the construction worker, we call them carpet walkers. So there's other words for the office people, but that's a good clean one here on a family-friendly podcast is carpet walkers. That's what we call them. They stay in the offices. A lot of them are out of shape. They drink a little too much. Some of them smoke cigarettes, but they hang out in the office all the time, and they're smoking and joking, chumming up with the office ladies and the other office dudes when the real men are out working. We're getting it. We're in the ditch digging it. You got your operators, you got guys running 2 or 3 guys doing lighting, whatever it is. It's just a different animal for different people.
You're so happy when you come home after it's been hard work. And you always tell me stories how you jump in. If there's manual labor to be done that's hard, like digging ditches, you're on it. Even though as an electrician, that wasn't your job description at the job site, you're helping the guys dig the ditches and haul the big things and move the stuff because you're so physical and you love it.
You need to be a good example for the younger guys. The younger guys coming up, they want somebody to lead them. They want somebody to look at, not necessarily rah nonsense. I'm talking about they want to emulate somebody. They want an example, and a lot of their dads weren't the example. The brothers might not be the example, whatever it is. But they're coming in at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, and some of them haven't had real jobs before, and they can't hardly operate a shovel, a spade, if you will, to dig a hole. So it's yeah. But to answer your question, I definitely would always jump in the ditch to dig because I want to be a good example, and it comes from a good work ethic.
Something that I know because you have a son who's, how old's Loudon? He's 24.
I think so, 24.
So he's such a good kid and such a nice young man and such a hard worker. You did such a good job. I was telling my mom yesterday, you're such a good dad. It's amazing. And you had a huge hand in raising him. So I wanted the audience to hear your crazy. So you spent 20 years in a steel mill, and when I asked you yesterday if you work night shift, you were like, well, what's What was it? 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.?
So the shifts out there were 4 days on and 4 days off. So if you start on a Monday, then the next week you start on a Tuesday. And the shifts were 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Those were primarily the shifts I worked for about 15 years. I probably did 7 or 8, 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then probably about the same number, the opposite. And there's probably a couple years I worked 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And that was when I was real young. Get off work at 11 p.m., hit the tavern, go cause trouble, do stupid things, and you're up in the morning, going back to work the next day.
But you had this cool schedule at one point where you were able to really have a huge part in your son's life. So you were able to basically raise him when a lot of young kids would be either at daycare or they'd come home and be with mom, which is cool also. But you had this really unique situation.
It was cool. I worked 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I would get off work and I would get home about 3:30. So I'm in bed sleeping by 4, usually. And you work in a steel mill. So a lot of times you're showering at work most of the time. It's a very volatile, violent, dirty place. So anyway, and then I would be, his mom would go to work. And then whatever time he got up, if he got up at 8, I was up at 8. If he got up at 9, I was up at 9. If he got up at 7 a.m., I was up at 7 a.m. with him. And, we had a great time. I didn't have to go back to work till 3 p.m. So I had from 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, whatever, to 2:30, 2 o'clock p.m. And we rode, this is when he was little, before school, but out of diapers and everything. So he's easy. But yeah, it was great. Riding bicycles, hanging out, going to the gym. He loved the daycare center at the gym. He and I would ride our tandem bicycle there and have fun, and then go have lunch somewhere, and it was a good time. It was great.
So you got to have like a blue collar job, working night shift, and you raised your son during the day. And that, when you told me that, I was like, does your son know that you didn't sleep for like 8 years, that you basically didn't sleep? You got like, what, 3-4 hours of sleep? Maybe.
I'd catch a cat nap in there somewhere, or, if his mom got off early, I would maybe catch a nap right before I had to go to work, but it was fine. I was all right with it.
So super disrupted sleep schedule. And I say that to bring it back to what you first said when you were like, sleep. So when I met you and we first started dating, I'm trying to teach you all this. It's pretty hard when you meet someone new and you're a naturopathic doctor, because we essentially belong to a cult, but we're right. Like, we're right about most things, at least when it comes to our medicine, not the Kool-Aid drinking juicer endies. But we have certain ways about us that are specific. And for me, dating somebody, it was really important that that person understood and respected those things. And for me, sleep is non-negotiable. That's a big one. If a guy can't sleep, if they snore too loud, if they don't sleep, if they have insomnia, if they have sleep issues, like, don't want to hang out with them ever again. And you slept so hard when I first met you, and I couldn't believe how good you were at it. You were just such a good sleeper, like almost like a kid.
Sleep champion right here. Number 1 sleep champion in the United States of America.
And so I was teaching you all my biohacking ways, and you're so funny because, well, I don't like that word biohacking, but you know what I mean. I was teaching you all the ways of the force, and you were like, Tina, we have to talk about your sleep. Your sleep is a little messed up. And even the other night you were like, what are you doing staying up till 11? Like, what are you doing?
I know, it's paramount. I feel so much better being on a normal, real schedule. It took a lot of years, 20 in a steel mill plus, however many. But it took a lot of years for me to really dial it in, and then combine that with don't drink alcohol, and then combine that with, working out, not necessarily every day. I try to be active every day, but I'm not, deadlifting every single day of my life. I am picking up a hunk of sheetrock or plywood, and I'm picking up big old hunks of pipe to throw up in the ceiling somewhere. So you gotta work out and stay active and be physical, I guess, without necessarily lifting weights or going to the gym, but you got to do something.
Well, that brings me to my next thought, which I wanted to ask you about, because you don't spend a lot of time in the gym, and I'm often harping on you about it and telling you that you got to deadlift, you got to squat, you got to deadlift, you got to squat. And you're like, is lifting up this giant whatever and putting it somewhere else like 4 times in a day, is that considered squatting, Tina? Because that's what I did today. He'll say something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. He is. But you are doing a ton of manual labor, which I think is huge and helpful. And I think it's got its own benefits of being what is going to keep you alive a long, long time. Like, I think you're going to live to a very old age, whether you like it or not. But I will say that there's got to be something in there added in as you age, because this is where I'm going with this. You do have these little hiccups where you move your body or you try to do something on the job site, like you're a 25-year-old and you hurt yourself a couple times. I mean, I've had to bail you out a few times.
Oh, I've hurt myself. I have hurt myself bad. Yeah.
And these are injuries that if you weren't in my hands and me doing the things that I know how to do with regenerative injections and like the magic tools I have at my disposal, you would go down the route of most men your age, which is you'd probably end up with a surgery, an orthopedic surgery, and that would beget more surgery. And you probably honestly would have been cut on at least like 3 different times had you not had me intervene. Well, I mean, I know you're smarter than that and you would have found solutions, but like, I'm just talking about the typical male your age having those kinds of injuries. Those would have been all 3 surgical situations. And we've avoided that completely. But that's the only place where I would say lifting is helpful, is it keeps those small muscles that you need around your spine protecting you so you don't herniate a disc. But that's the only reason I harp on you to lift, baby.
Well, that's true. That's true. I do. I hit the gym last night.
I know.
Worked out some bis and tries and did some delts. I really got after it.
Yes, curls for the girls, Bubba.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you have great sleep. You eat really well. When I met you, I was surprised. I mean, I had to get you off the tater tots because you
love tater tots. You're right. Who doesn't love tater tots?
You'll go eat at wherever the job site is. You'll go eat like at the food cart, and much to my dismay. But I have actually seen you at different job sites where you packed your food every day and you just you packed meat, you packed protein, and you packed a little carbs, and you have your ritual, which is so impressive. But you often tell me stories of how you eat like that, and the other guys on the job site will start asking you questions about how you're eating because they're eating garbage.
How many guys I've gotten on your system because they see me bring out a strategically packed lunch that's awesome. I mean, it has massive amounts of protein, has some sweet potatoes in there, yogurt and some blueberries maybe, but just a great homemade lunch that I spent some time on doing, making it nice. They see that and they see the organization and they see that I'm not grossly overweight and they start asking questions. And that's when I hit them with the, hey, Dr. Tina, have you heard about the podcast? All these things. And then they start sharing it with other people. It's quite impressive, really. It's people want the information. People want to be healthy. Nobody wants to be a slob eating donuts in the break room, and it's fun. It tastes good for a second, but it's gross.
It is gross. Well, when I met you, you were drinking beer and I told you what beer did to you. And you were like, oh, it makes me gross. And I said, yeah, because it basically, for the audience listening, there's very few herbs are pro hormone, meaning they might help move a hormone down a pathway or move pathways down to a hormone. But hops specifically is pro-estrogenic. Like you might as well be drinking an estrogen tincture. If you're a dude and you're listening and you drink beer, you're basically sucking down a bottle of estrogen. Just know that going in and do things to mitigate it. But you quit drinking beer like right off the bat, which I didn't even tell you to. I was just shocked. I was like, because you were drinking PBR and IPAs and I told you what they were doing to your testosterone levels and that was done. Well,
yeah. If somebody tells me that I have extra estrogen in my body and I'm a man, like a real man, then yeah, I'm going to stop. I'm going to do immediately what it takes to get that stuff out of my body. And that's when I started asking questions and, I was like, okay, so I have some tater tots with my hamburger. Come on. And then, I started learning about the seed oils and all the other things that go along with it. And, combine that with beer. So I switched from beer to high quality whiskey, and that, that did the trick for a little while. I obviously don't drink now, but yeah, it was a good learning experience for sure. And I quit immediately, definitely.
Yeah, and you quit the tater tots too. It was so cute. Like I didn't most of the time when I would be, you know, we met in our mid to late 40s, so like we've dated other people, and you go to tell them, hey, you know, you might not want to do that. It's not great for you. And like, how do you do that without sounding harpy? So you know, I always joke that I give it about 9 months of indoctrination, of like slowly introducing the information to you. And you know, because I don't want to be the Debbie Downer that tells you everything you're doing is bad for you. But you had Pyrex dishes, you had fairly clean soap around your house and cleaning products, which I was really impressed with. You slept like a champ. You listened when I would tell you something, you'd be like, ew, like I told you about seed oils, and you were like, yuck, I'm not doing that anymore. And it's been really easy with you because I haven't had to try to convince you of anything or harp on you. I just give you information. You realize it makes sense or it doesn't. You usually go look it up. Cutely, like the cutest part is you'll usually find one of my friends on Instagram who says the same thing, and they teach it to you in a way that like resonates if the way I say it hasn't resonated yet. Eventually it clicks and you take it on. And then the best part is I hear you turn around and teach other people. So I'll hear you like talk to your brother or talk to Loudon or talk to whomever, and you teach it forward, which means that proves you have some mastery over it. So tell me about that. So like you tell these guys on the job site, you know, soda, like don't.
Oh, soda is such a big one. These guys, and then the Monster energy drinks and the other, it's just poison going into their bodies. So I definitely try to teach it to them. I'm proud of the fact that I haven't had a soda pop in years. You know, I can't wait till I am able to say a decade. You know, but I just start there. You know, especially the guys that are my age and see that I'm decently fit. You know,
You're in good shape.
I'm in pretty decent shape, I'd say. And you see guys my exact age, maybe a little bit younger, that just look bad. The pot belly and just the flab on them. And, you know, their stamina isn't up. And, you know, it's just, they don't want to be like that. They want to be an example to the young guys, and they want to look good for their spouse or whomever, but nobody wants to be slovenly. You know, nobody wants that. And they just need a little bit of encouragement. So I definitely try to encourage them. I try and be positive, and I try to, you know, pay it forward a little bit.
Yeah, you lead by example. I don't think people ever want to be feeling that way either. Like, I think that's a good way to say it, because a lot of folks maybe don't have the discipline or the willpower. I think a lot of it comes back to their partners at home too. You know, it's like, how is the household ran? How is the household eating? How is the house? I find with the females that I work with or have worked with in the past, they'll often say that, you know, my husband won't eat my cooking if I cook this way, and my kids won't eat it. So they're making meals for themselves, meals for the husband, meals for the kids.
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. And you told me, when I told you that, you were like, I just eat what's put in front of me.
Oh, in my household, growing up as a kid, definitely. My dad was an MP during Vietnam. He was drafted. My mom owned a hair salon place, and it was me and my brother, and we lived on a small farm. We definitely had a very large garden every year. We had cattle, and we had some sheep, and we butchered our animals. I hunted and that sort of stuff. But yeah, if mom put the food down in front of you, you ate it, especially if you were hungry, which at the end of the day, we were hungry because we worked. You know, even when we were younger kids, just helping getting the firewood in and that sort of stuff. We weren't, you know, back, I guess, in the late 70s, you know, there wasn't the video game stuff, and there wasn't these glued in front of the TV, and, you know, moms throwing their 4 or 5-year-olds in front of Blue's Clues instead of teaching them how to tie their shoes, I guess. So it was just a different time, it really. But to answer your question, I get hungry. I get very hungry, and I'm very good at a few things, and eating is one of them. So if it was put in front of me and I was hungry, I ate it.
If you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I'm constantly beating the drum on having optimal metabolic health, especially as we age, especially as we are walking into menopause and andropause. Hands down, my favorite biohacking device for this is the NutriSense Continuous Glucose Monitor program. This program comes complete with an awesome app that shows you all the graphs, registered dietitians that are experts in helping you interpret that information, and they get how I suggest eating. Like, they get it. They're on the tip. There's a Facebook group for accountability and community and so much more. The NutriSense CGM program will help you make better lifestyle choices that may help you avoid chronic conditions down the line. 94% of Americans have busted metabolisms, guys. This is a problem. I've teamed up with NutriSense, and they are generously giving listeners of the Dr. Tyna Show $30 off any subscription to any of their programs right now. While I highly suggest committing to 3 to 6 months of this, I myself do it quarterly. My metabolism is pretty dialed in. Even if you do it for a month, regardless, you get 2 monitors per month. They've got 14 days use on them. They're painless. They're easy to apply. You hardly know they're even there. Use the link in the show notes and use the coupon code Dr. Tyna, DRTYNA, to get $30 off your first subscription. I highly suggest you give this a try, especially if you're trying to make 2023, like I am, the hottest and happiest year yet. We've covered sleep. You're very good at that. You're very good at eating. You're very good at working, and you're very good at sex. And so we're going to talk about that because everybody wants to hear about that. I read a statistic that people our age are in their late 40s, early 50s are having sex once a month.
That is shocking.
That is unacceptable.
What's the age? What's the age group there you mentioned? 40 to 50?
No, like late 40s. I don't know. Maybe it was 40 to 50 was the age group. Whatever age we fell into when I looked it up, I was shocked. They're having sex once a month.
Yeah, that is a person's drive. Where does it go? I mean, my drive is the same as it was when I was a very young man. I'm not going to say teenager, I guess, but as a young man, my drive is definitely still there. And I think being in shape is paramount.
Yes. Well, that's like key.
Because if you like sex, which I do, then I need somebody to have sex with me. And for somebody to want to have sex with me, if I was grossly obese or even obese at all, it would be harder for me to find somebody that wanted to have sex with me. So I naturally would want to keep my face trimmed and my hair cut and smelling nice and clean. And also, I should probably have a little bit of muscle structure and not be, I should be attractive, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to get laid.
Yeah. That's a pretty important part of it.
Yeah. And I think that folks get comfy when they're married and they forget that. But I realize it's hard for us to speak on this because, you and I have only been together a few years, but like, I want to be, like, I go crazy when I see you. I seriously, like, big heart poppy, like the cartoon character with the heart eyes popping out of her head. That is every time I see you, whether you're dirty or clean or dressed or asleep or looking like right now, you really need a haircut and a beard trim. But like, I'm so crazy about you because I find you so attractive, and I hope that you look at me the same way. And
of course.
But I work hard to stay in that shape so that I want you to look at me like that forever. I mean, I want to be 80 years old and having you run around grabbing my boobs and butt like you always do. And
definitely. The animal kingdom is the same way. The big bad lion, he's got the hottest lioness, it's just kind of the way it works. They groom themselves for a reason to not only stay clean and healthy, but also to attract a mate. And so, when you're looking hot at the gym or you're out on a 2-mile run and the guy drives by checking you out, start worrying when they don't check you out. That's
what my mom always says. One time I got offended because somebody, I've been catcalled a lot, and somebody whistled at me or something, and I got mad. And my mom was like, I was like in the throes of my liberal and I'm talking like, I had gone pretty far left at that point, and she was like, you should get mad when they stop whistling at you.
Definitely. Definitely.
But it's a good point. So I've studied a lot of animal behavior, zoology, mammalian behavior, and mammals have a social hierarchy. And whether we like it or not, a lot of that in all mammals, including humans, and they've done studies on humans, attractiveness it ranks very high because you and I were talking about this yesterday. The sole purpose of a mammal is to reproduce and create viable offspring that can also reproduce. And for some reason, humans have completely abandoned that. I think part of it's birth control, because birth control, I don't know if you know this, the pill actually, and I was sharing this like well over a decade ago, and people, it's like becoming more popular now, but the pill actually ruins the female sense of smell. And so to a degree where she can't sniff out, like we choose our partners as fancy mammals with opposable thumbs. We choose each other based on opposite immune systems so that my screwed up immune system won't have the same screwed upness as yours and vice versa. And genetically so that your genes will offset mine and mine will offset yours. That's how naturally occurring mating happens for all mammals. And the birth control pill messes that up. So we have decades of women who have sniffed out the wrong partner to mate with and reproduce with. Isn't that wild?
Oh, it's amazing.
So that's, I think, explains a lot, but of like the last few generations. But I think that attractiveness ranks high for mammalian societies, all mammalian, like being attractive and fit. And it's not just beauty. It's like a woman who's healthy across the world. They've looked at data across the world, different cultures, tribes, and a hip to waist ratio of 0.7 is ideal, meaning the waist is smaller than the hips in a way for females, in a way that the waist is 70% the size of the hips is basically it, 70 to 80. And above 80, you start to look at health problems, meaning the waist is getting thicker. That is a sign that the woman's walking into metabolic syndrome and diabetes. And metabolically unsound and diabetic women don't have readily viable offspring. That's much harder for them to get pregnant. In fact, busted blood sugar is like one of the key reasons why someone can't get pregnant in the first place or maintain a pregnancy. So anyway, that's a thing. Symmetrical faces is a thing with babies looking at humans, adult humans. And then with women, we have a similar ratio of shoulders to waist. There's the V shape that a man is supposed to look like a healthy human male. That's actually considered attractive across cultures. It has nothing to do with modern culture or magazines or media. Everyone's like, oh, well, that's what we've been fed to believe is normal. No, actually, tribal societies that don't look at magazines or mainstream media have the same exact ratios of specificity. Like they want to see a man with broader shoulders than waist, and men want a smaller waist than hips. And that is how you have healthy offspring. And we've got it completely ass backwards. That's
why we're going extinct.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of potato-shaped people with diabetes, and everybody's like, I wonder what's going, why is everything going wrong? Why are sperm counts 60% lower than they were, when our kids were young?
Lack of sunlight and video games and the pornography industry. The list goes on with the debauchery of the media, the television. If we got back into nature a little bit and just went for a walk, we'd be so better off as a society.
That brings me to walking. You are so funny because I'll say, hey, babe, you want to go for a walk with me? Because I love going for walks with you. And
I'm like, hey, I walked around all day today, like working, and I'm kind of tired. So I'm out of the walk today. You can go for your walk and think about me if you want, but I'll be here in the house.
Yes. But walking after a meal is really good for you, and people should do that more. So you should go for a walk with me after meals because it helps you not get diabetes.
I will do my best to accommodate you.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about sleep. We've talked about exercise. We've talked about sex, and sex, going back to that, every single day. Like that's the goal, right?
Pretty much every day. Yeah.
We don't always hit it, but...
No, not always, but that's usually the MO for us. Once in the morning.
And that's actually when both of our testosterone levels are highest. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But mine feels really high in the morning, so I would like to alleviate that feeling, and that's what I do.
You have the best erections I've ever encountered. I don't know how to say that without giving away too much information, but it's good. So your T levels are high in the morning. Our T levels are high in the morning. So ladies, if your husband initiates sex in the morning, take him up on it. Do it. Go after it. Initiate it yourself if you're feeling it. But like, I never say no unless I'm really, and if I don't feel good, you just leave me alone. Like if I ate something I shouldn't have, or if I got gluten or whatever, you're always really good. And you always let me sleep if I'm too tired.
That's true.
You give me a little nudge. I don't know what you do. You give me what do you do to see if I'm awake?
Oh,
you like rub my hip or something.
Rub you or whatever and see if you're awake or not. And yeah, we usually wake up about the same time anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that, something really important for me is every single night when we sit down to watch some TV is I come cuddle with you on the couch and you give me some love. And that, like, the reason I say this is because for women, foreplay is different than for men. And like, that is so critical that I get that every night. I feel so much better when I get to have that's like my favorite. I love having sex with you, but that is like my favorite intimate time is when I get to just cuddle with you on the couch and then when I'm done, I'm done. And
my cuddles are pretty spectacular. So,
but it's so you receive that and you reciprocate it. And therefore, like, it's much easier for me to say yes in the morning, even if I'm not feeling right up to it right away. I always get into it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I share this with people because I think that it's these little small things that people don't realize in their coupledom and especially if they've been married a long time. It's like, you give me a little time in the evening when I need some love and affection, and that translates into you getting laid every morning.
Oh yeah, definitely. And people have to realize don't be insecure in the morning. Like so many people are, I don't look good in the morning or my teeth aren't brushed or whatever. It's like, no, I'm ready to do this. So it's going to happen. But insecurities, I guess, for people, a lot of people, they don't feel confident or secure in the morning. And one partner's ready to go and the other partner thinks they don't look pretty. So insecurity is not attractive, to me anyway.
Yeah, I'm not worried about my teeth or my...
No, we're partners and everybody, you take your showers in the evening so you're ready to go in the morning. That is the key to success.
That's the key. I was thinking about that this morning.
You take your shower at night.
We were having sex and I was like,
you're ready to go.
He smells so good because he takes you taught me that too. The shower at night thing. That's like a pearl, you guys. That's a big one because the shower at night, and sometimes we'll take a shower together, but the shower at night is key. And then we're clean in the morning and we're good to go. And
definitely.
You take a shower because the reason you take a shower at night is because you worked all day and you come in filthy. You look like Pigpen from the Peanuts. Like you're a disaster of dirt and there's like stuff stuck all over your clothes. So you take your clothes off outside because they're so dirty. And then you go immediately and take your shower. And that, I had never done that before. I had never even considered that a thing, but like it leads to easy sex in the morning.
Oh, and easy sex is the best sex. You know what I'm saying? No, and another thing I do as a man, I relieve my bladder before I wake up Tina. So the cat's out of the bag, fellas, right there. Before she wakes up, you go relieve your bladder and you're ready to go.
Is that so you can have a good erection?
No, it's so I don't have to pee while we're having sex.
Does needing to pee while you have sex?
It affects
orgasm?
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, it's hard to.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Hard to orgasm when you have to pee.
You still get erect, but you're going to be there for a while.
So speaking of, you have we don't have to get into it, but like you definitely have always taken care of your penis. Like you have always made sure to keep your pelvic floor healthy through different strategies of like learning how to like, you were telling me like hold your urine. Like there's a certain pee thing that you.
Yeah. When you are urinating and then you stop urinating, you're training the muscles in your pelvic floor, which I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew it made me better at sex. And my partners enjoyed it. So, I mean, this is all trial and error. And as a young man, I read, Penthouse and that sort of stuff. I'm of that age. Today, people are reading all kinds of stuff online and, anyway. So yeah, at a young age, I knew I liked sex. I tried to brush up on it. I tried to get good at it.
But you have some penis health strategies.
Yeah, when your penis is semi-hard and you grab it by the base and you tighten up your grip and then you go forward away from your body, it trains all those blood vessels to get rock hard. It's just like doing a bicep, I guess. I mean, it was always my what I was thinking.
Yeah, you take good care of it.
And a lot of this is trial and error. And after you have sex, then you go wash your penis with soap and water in the sink. And if somebody asks you if your partner asks you why, especially if you're young, you're just like, hey, that's how you're open about it. That's how you take care of this and that. And
ladies, go pee after you have sex right away. Go pee every single time. Go urinate so that you don't get a urinary tract infection, because as we age, our estrogen in our vaginal area decreases and our vaginal tissues start to atrophy and shrink away. And with that comes a very high induction of risk for urinary tract infections. And this is why a lot of elderly women will suffer with chronic UTIs, because their estrogen has, gone away so much that their vaginal tissues have atrophied. And if you don't use your vagina, you lose your vagina for real. It will atrophy very quickly. And I've had people that I've worked, women I've worked with who their husband died, or, women who've gotten divorced and then they're not having any sex. And the next thing they know, they're dealing with chronic urinary tract infections because their vaginal tissue has shrunken away. So men, it's the same thing. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to lose either of those things.
So you have these little tips and tricks, which we don't have to go into detail on, but you have some tips and tricks and strategies to, even if you're not having sex, like you just keep your penis healthy. That was something I noticed about you. Like I'd never met someone who actually had focused on having a really good, healthy penis.
That's because if you got to be good at something, right? You might as well be good at sex, good at sleeping, good at sex, good at eating, good at working.
Yeah.
I mean, my life is simple. I live by a simple code, Other men, tell your young men this sort of stuff. Like, you got to teach the young guys what's up. We can't raise a generation of weak people, It's just part of being a man, I guess.
I love it. Well, I think you just summarized the entire podcast, so we probably could end there.
Wonderful.
Get your sleep dialed, get your sex dialed, get your work life dialed. So you're working or exercising or whatever it is, and, eat your meat.
And be good to your female partners, men, Learn how to cook good, learn how to have sex good. They will appreciate it. You'll have a better life. Yeah, it really, you being such a strong, masculine, healthy man has really helped me bring out the most feminine version of me and the kindest version of me that I've ever been. So I appreciate you for that, because I always, like I said, I was such a feminist and such like a hardcore independent woman, and I would frown upon that in men. I'd be like, man, I'd end up with these kind of beta boys. And you have really helped me through your strong masculinity be like, it brings out all the good, right female hormones for me and makes me a better woman. So I love you, Boba. Well, I love you too. And you make me a better man. You soften me up a little bit. Instead of being a mean old grump. I can still be a mean old grump sometimes, but. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. I've been trying to get him on the podcast for a long time, you guys, and I finally got him to say yes. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I don't know if we brought anything new that I haven't told you before, but hopefully hearing it from him will help it settle in, and share it with your men, ladies. I'm hoping to have it stick with them, because again, for you to have your optimal health, you need your men and partners, whether it's other women, whatever your partner preference is. You need the healthiest version of them for you to be the healthiest version of you. And that's it. I will be back next week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the Dr. Tyna Show.
Please be sure to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Tyna, that's DRTYNA, and Dr. Tyna 2.0, as well as visit my website at drtyna.com. This is a Resonant Media production, produced by Drake Peterson and mixed by Chris McCone. The theme song is by John the Guilt. As always, you can email the show at podcast@drtyna.com. And if you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. See you next week. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practices of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content on this podcast is intended not to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.
If you're looking to take back your health, it's time for you to listen to the Real Foodology podcast. From the producer of the Dr. Tyna Show comes one of Apple Podcast's top 10 nutrition shows, hosted by integrative nutritionist and real food activist Courtney Swan. The Real Foodology podcast is on a mission to change the way we eat. Courtney interviews doctors, food experts, health professionals, and nutrition pioneers to bring you the best info so you can thrive. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of how impactful our food choices are. But it's never too late to start on the path of better health choices. You'd be so surprised how resilient our bodies are when we start taking care of them. Yes, it's overwhelming, but that's why Courtney's here to help. She breaks it down for you and makes the information more accessible so that you can make more informed decisions in the grocery aisle or restaurant. Listen to the Real Foodology podcast today on your favorite podcast app.